Well, now to the skies above Europe. Ryanair, the continent's biggest airline, has just reported after-tax profits of €663 million. That translates to $737 million for the 3 months to the end of June. That's higher than it was enjoying before the pandemic, and it echoes a record result by its rival easyJet, which last week reported record quarterly profits of $263 million. It shows that consumers are still spending on travel at a time when household budgets are under pressure. Ryanair had to reduce its passenger growth forecast for the rest of this year, though, but only because of production delays at Boeing, which makes the 737 planes that are in its fleet. Let's cross live now to Sally Gethin, who is a global aviation and travel analyst. Sally, thanks for being with us today. Lots of focus, obviously, at this moment in time on the cost of living crisis. Is it that consumers, though, are still willing to fork out for holidays, or perhaps that they're moving more towards budget carriers at a time when household budgets are under pressure?
Well, in a financial climate as we have at the moment, Ryanair is well positioned because it's the leading low-cost carrier in Europe, and that's where people will focus their budgets on if they want to take a break. But having said that, even though these are very strong results, as you just pointed out, going through to the winter season, which is always the low season, Ryanair is concerned that rising cost of mortgages and the cost of living could flatten out this big profit spike and this big surge that has been continuing throughout the course of this year.
Yeah, indeed. Ryanair likes to talk about itself as a low-fare airline. So do all the budget carriers. But it's interesting when you look into the detail that average fares are now higher than they were previously, suggesting that the way out of the crises that we've just been through for low-cost carriers has actually been to push up their prices.
Well, it's actually an industry-wide dilemma, actually, that the reason for this is there's fewer seats, there's less capacity for passengers on board aircraft than there was prior to the pandemic. And the pandemic, as we saw, had a massive shakeout effect for the airline industry. Some airlines went all together, and aircraft themselves were parked for a long time. There were lots of reasons for that. So that is what is pushing up fares, but also across the board, airlines are facing higher operational costs and in some cases reduced staff as well. So we saw that easyJet had a lot of problems, had to do a lot of flight cancellations earlier this month. And so Ryanair, in a way, is still in a strong position because it's hedged its fuel of oil per barrel, and it actually has trimmed everything, and it's also driving up it's actually getting a better ancillary revenue cost per passenger of over €23, which is very high and shows it has a strong core financial operating base.
Okay, Sally Gethin, travel analyst, thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts today.